Hello and welcome to another Warlord Wednesday, the episode of the week where we talk about all things bolt action. And today, guys, we are going to be continuing with my starter set review series, and we're going to be taking a look at the German Grenadier starter army. So without further ado, let's dive straight into this. Now, in the last episode, we took a look at the Blitzkrieg starter army, and there'll be a link to that video at the end of this one. But today, we're going to take a look at the German Grenadier starter army. Now, if it wasn't immediately obvious, this is a starter set for the Germans. Now, in contrast to the Blitzkrieg starter army, which is an early war kit, the German Grenadier starter force is very much based around a late war German army. This one will be ideally suited for building something that's 1944-1945 appropriate. And that is really reflected in the kind of support weapons that you get and the infantry weapon options that are available to you in this kit. But before we get too much into the late war versus early war argument, I'd say we'll circle back round to the advantages and disadvantages of having a late war army. For now, let's take a look at what you actually get in this German Grenadier starter force. So this kit comes with 36 plastic infantry, 2 plastic vehicles and 3 metal artillery pieces / war machines, and they come with 9 metal crew. So the majority of this starter set is plastic, but like with many of the Warlord support teams, you're going to have to deal with a little bit of metal models. Now that's not too bad. If you're familiar with Warlord kits, you shouldn't find this a problem, but if you're maybe coming over from Warhammer 40k, it's just something to be aware of. Metal models are not a problem. In fact, they're really easy to build because they're all one piece, and you just stick them down on the base, but you have to be careful when you're finished painting them because they can chip. So what I would say is, when you're getting used to using metal models the first time, paint them as you would do your plastic, but afterwards make sure that you seal them with some sort of matte varnish, maybe like Minotaurium spray or something like that. That's just a little bit of advice for my Warhammer 40k players, but I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent. This isn't a Warhammer 40k video. So now let's take a look at the specific models that you get in the set. So those 36 plastic infantry that you get are the plastic German Grenadiers that are sold by Warlord Games. And they're actually a pretty decent kit. It's a little bit of an older kit. It has been around since the Band of Brothers days, but it does come with a nice variety of weapons. You're going to find STG-44s. You're going to find MP-40s and other submachine guns, including some captured Soviet ones. You'll also notice that you get at least 2 different kinds of rifle as well. You'll see that you have the bolt action Kar 98 and you have the Gewehr 43. Now, in terms of rules in the game, there is no difference. They operate exactly the same way, but it is nice to have those different model options just to give your army a little bit of variety. So that's really cool. And of course, you will also get some support squad weapons. You'll get some MG42s in here. Now, I believe you actually don't get any MG34s in this kit. It is just the late war MG42s. But it's not really a problem because there's no rules difference between the MG34 and the MG42. It's purely an aesthetic difference. Now, maybe that'll be a little bit disappointing if you're someone like me. I personally have a soft spot for the MG34, but it really isn't a problem at the end of the day. It comes with plenty of machine guns for your German infantry. There's also 2 different kinds of uniform that you'll find in this kit. You've got the standard German field grey uniform, but you'll also notice that there's in each sprue of 6 models, you'll find that you get 2 people with the camouflage smocks. Now, this is both a good thing and a bad thing. It is a good thing because it allows you to start maybe using these models in amongst your SS forces if you're going down that route, or it just allows you to really show that these are late war infantry, or it will help you differentiate if you want to have veteran infantry versus regulars. So it's quite good for all those kind of things. The one tiny disadvantage you may find is that it makes it a little bit less time period agnostic. I mean, you can't really run around in the early war with your camouflage smocks on. It just wasn't really happening. So it is a little bit of a problem for that, but bear in mind that the majority of the models in this kit will be running around in the standard German uniform, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. One last thing to mention on this kit is that it comes with loads of different head options, so you can use it to build all the different infantry that you'll be wanting in your army. You can use it for your line infantry, your specialists, and even things like your officers and other HQ choices. Overall, I think the plastic infantry in the starter army is a really strong point for it. You can use them to build pretty much any kind of German infantry you want. Maybe you want to go down a inexperienced army route, lots of Volksgrenadiers with automatic weaponry. You can do that. You'll get plenty of STG-44s and submachine guns in this army. Maybe you want to go down more of a regular German army force. They've got an MG-42. Maybe the officer's got an NCO. You can do that. Maybe you want to go down some absolute late war Eastern Front hardened veterans. You can do that. You can have all the camouflage smocks. You can have Soviet captured weapons. It's great. You can pretty much build this infantry to represent any kind of German infantry you want on the battlefield. So it's a really versatile kit, it's really good, and overall I think it's a massive strong point for this starter army. Now moving on from that line infantry, let's take a look at some of those support teams. And the first one that I want to mention is that we have a medium machine gun team in this starter set. Those of you who have watched the Blitzkrieg German video will know that I actually marked that kit down a little bit because it didn't come with a medium machine gun team, which is just crazy because German medium machine guns and German machine guns in general are actually some of the best in the game. And so not to include one in a starter set is kind of criminal. Now I know a lot of people will say, oh, but Warlord Games, they just pad out their starter sets with medium machine gun teams. Most people don't even like them. I would argue that they actually do have a point in most German armies, but also if your starter set doesn't have a medium machine gun team, it just feels kind of wrong. They're just a classic starter set unit to have. So for me, it's a big plus that this kit comes with one. Now the next support weapon that you get in this starter army is the medium mortar, and this is a fantastic choice. Really, really strong. I don't think I've ever written a bolt action list, not a serious one, that hasn't included a medium mortar. They're just a staple solid unit, and I cannot recommend them enough. So I could go on and on about the medium mortar, but I think suffice to say it's a really strong unit, and it's great that this starter army includes one. A really strong point for it. Now the last support weapon that you get in this starter force is the Pak 40 heavy anti-tank gun, and that's quite an interesting unit for them to include in the starter force. You see, what you tend to find with a lot of starter armies is they include like a medium machine gun, a medium mortar, a medium anti-tank gun, but for this starter army, Warlords have kind of gone all out and gone, no, the Germans are getting a heavy anti-tank gun, and that's actually a really nice upgrade, a really nice thing to have in the starter army. And just a little side note, not only is this thing great at knocking out enemy tanks, it's going to be penetrating most allied medium arm on like a 4+, it's also great at taking out enemy infantry as well. You see, the high explosive value of this weapon is actually the same as that of the medium mortar. They both fire a 2-inch blast template. So not only is this thing good at killing tanks, it's actually perfectly adequate at killing infantry as well. It's just a really good all-round unit, and it's a really good idea that Warlord have included it in this force. But that covers all of the support weapons. Now let's move on to the favourite bit of any army, the vehicles. So this kit comes with two really good ones. And the first one I want to talk about is that 8-wheeled armoured car, the Puma. Now the Puma is considered to be one of the best armoured cars that the Germans can take, and it's actually considered to be one of the best units that you can include in your German force. It's just really strong. Now for an armoured car, it's actually really well armoured. I mean, that sounds obvious, right? It's an armoured car, Mordian Glory, but bear with me 1 second. Most armoured cars in other armies have an armour value of 7+, but the Puma has an armour value of 8+, so that puts it on par with some light tanks. That's tasty. It also comes with a medium anti-tank gun. So you've got a heavy anti-tank gun on your Pak 40. Now you've also got a medium anti-tank gun on your Puma. And it comes with a medium machine gun. So whilst it's a little pricey, I think the Puma comes in like around 200 points or so, it doesn't matter too much because it can take on vehicles, it can take on infantry. It's just a really solid unit. Now the other armed vehicle you get in this starter set is the Stug. And the Stug is just great. It's just an iconic vehicle, and it's a solid workhorse unit. I would say it's probably not as good as a Panzer IV. You know, if you look at a Panzer IV anti-tank variant and compare it to a Stug 3 Aus F, for example, they both come with that heavy anti-tank gun. They both cost about 230 points, but the Panzer IV has a turret and it has an extra MMG. So the Panzer IV is probably better, but it's only a small difference really. By and large, the Stug is still a really solid armoured unit to choose for your German army. And it's so iconic, it's so cool. And what's great is that unlike the Panzer IV, which basically only has like 2 variants to pick from, the Stug has loads. You can take it with a light howitzer, you can take it with a heavy anti-tank gun, you can even take it as a Stu 42, which is actually a really, really strong variant of the Stug that comes with a medium howitzer, and that's actually considered to be really, really competitive. Essentially what I'm saying is there's a Stug for every season. There's a Stug for everybody out there, and it's up to you how you want to build it. Little bit of advice though, the long barrel for the heavy anti-tank gun just sort of slots into the casemate. So if you don't want to run it with the heavy anti-tank gun, just take that out and you'll be left with the little stubby barrel. And that can be used to represent the light howitzer, the medium howitzer. So really, it comes with all the different options and it's so easy to swap them out. So that covers everything that you get in this kit, but there is something quite important that is missing from it, and it's just a little fly in the ointment, but it's something to be aware of if you're thinking of buying this starter army, which is it doesn't come with any transports, no trucks or half tracks. Now, when you're first starting out, foot slogging your guys across the board is absolutely fine, but you're going to find quickly that trucks and half tracks and just any kind of transport in general is quite essential, it's quite good, it's very strong, it's a big force multiplier for any army that you're going to be collecting in bot action. So one of the things you're going to want to buy once you've got this kit and you've bought it and built it and you've put it all together and you've played your first few games with it, is you're probably going to find you will need a half track or a truck or something like that. It's not a big problem, but it's just something to be aware of. And when you're considering buying the starter army, inevitably you're going to get the bug and you're going to want to expand the army. One of the first things I can recommend is go out there and get yourself a half track and get yourself some transportations. You won't regret it, and it'll be a really big force multiplier for this starter army. Now in this next part of the review, I want to compare our Grenadier starter set to some other German ones. And I think the first one I'm going to compare it to is that Blitzkrieg German starter army, the one that we looked at last week. Now considering both of these starter sets cost the same amount, £106 at the time of recording, you would have to be mad in my opinion to pick that Blitzkrieg one. The Grenadier one just blows it out of the water. You get the same amount of infantry, but the Grenadier infantry just comes with so many more weapon options. It's insane. You get all the STGs, all the Panzerfaust. It's just much better, the Grenadier kit, to represent almost any time period. You get more war machines that I would argue are better. So you not only do you get a medium mortar in both, but then the Grenadier one comes with a medium machine gun, which the Blitzkrieg one just doesn't have. And then also the Grenadier one comes with a bigger artillery piece. You get that Pak 40 versus the little light artillery piece you get in the Blitzkrieg German starter army. The vehicle section as well, I think whilst you do get 2 vehicles in both kits, one of them is only a half track. Now I know I just said transports are good, but when we're comparing 2 vehicles here, I think the Puma just way outclasses the 251 half track, and also I think the Stug, in terms of quality of kit, just outclasses that old resin Panzer that you're going to get with the Blitzkrieg Germans. So for me, there's no comparison. I would always pick the Grenadier starter army over the Blitzkrieg one. I think it's just a really solid kit all over, and it would probably be one of my go-to recommended starter sets for beginners. Now what I want to do is also compare this Grenadier starter force to the Afrika Korps, because those of you that have been watching my videos will know that I really like the Afrika Korps starter force. I think it's really strong and it's incredible value for money. Now bear in mind the Afrika Korps starter army is actually about £17 cheaper than the Grenadier one. It gives it a run for its money. Okay, now both forces come with 36 plastic infantry. Both forces come with a medium machine gun, a medium mortar, and a big artillery piece. Afrika Korps actually comes with the Flak 88, which is such a strong kit for any starter army. Although it can be a little bit pricey. I would argue that the Pak 40 is equivalent to it in terms of usefulness, because it's a little bit cheaper, which makes it a little bit flexible in terms of building lists and whatnot. Where the Grenadier kit starts winning out is in the vehicle department. Frankly, it comes with 2. It comes with a Puma, and it comes with a Stug. Whereas the Afrika Korps starter army only comes with that Panzer III. Good tank, but it is just 1 vehicle. So you do get 2 vehicles. But like I mentioned at the beginning, this Afrika Korps starter army is about £17 cheaper. If you were to go and add a Puma onto it, it would cost you an additional £21. So actually, the Grenadier kit is a good starter army. It actually gives you savings. It gives you savings in terms of just rather than buying the units individually, and then it also gives you a slight discount on getting that Puma as well, which is really, really good. So I would say that both the Africa Corps set and the Grenadier one are kind of equal. It just depends on what you're willing to spend to get into your bolt action army. Do you know you're going to be getting into it big time? Might as well go for that Grenadier one then. If you think, oh, I just want to get a starter army but not break the bank, probably go for that Africa Corps one. Little side note here, because I know someone might put it down in the comment section. Some people might say, oh, but what about comparing the different uniforms? I would actually say, in my experience, across a lot of the German infantry, be it the Grenadiers, the Africa Corps, or the Blitzkrieg ones, they're really, all those different kits mix together really, really well. If you paint them in a nice, consistent colour scheme, you won't notice the difference. I know people who have got German Africa Corps models, mix them in with late war German Grenadiers and SS models, and they've just got all the squads mixed together, but they're painted in a nice, consistent colour scheme. So that's why I haven't focused too much on the uniforms when comparing the kits, because you can truly just mix them all together and make a nice, varied force. It brings a lot of model variety to your army and makes it look fantastic on the tabletop. So overall, I can thoroughly recommend the German Grenadier Starter Army. It's a really strong kit. It comes with all the different units you're going to need. None of them are bad or obsolete or you're not going to find very useful. All of them are nice, middle of the road units that you will be able to use to get into action, try out all the different mechanics and really get a strong feel for the game. It's one of those starter armies that you could confidently go, you know what, I've built this, I've bought this, I don't really need any more. This is enough for me. This is as much as I want to get involved into it. Or you can be like, you know what, this is great. I love bot action. I'm going to build on top of this starter armor that I bought. And the Grenadier one is great for that. So I really like it. And overall, like I said, strongly recommend it. And if you're thinking of getting into bot action and you're thinking of getting into Germans, you're not sure which faction you want to get. You know, not sure if you want to go down the Luftwaffe Field Division or down the SS or whatever. You know what? If you're not sure, I'd say go for the German Grenadier Starter Army because you can pretty much build any kind of German army off it. But that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this army review. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you think that the German Grenadier Starter Force is a good one, or do you have another starter army that you'd strongly recommend instead? Let me know down in that comment section. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts. If you've enjoyed today's video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. It massively helps us out and gives us a big old boost in the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you're thinking, you know what, I want to pick up some of this bolt action stuff, then please consider using my Element Games affiliate link that you'll find in the description of this video. Element Games sells loads of bolt action stuff, a lot of it between 10 and 25% off, so it's a great way to save money on your bolt action models. Also, by using my affiliate link, they'll give me a little bit of a finder's fee, so it helps support the channel. It costs you no more, they just give me a little bit of money to say thank you for directing a customer their way. But I tell you what, if you use my referral code on the checkout, which is TIM3921, then you'll actually earn some store credit after you've made your purchase, which you can use next time you go there. So you'll actually make a little bit of savings in the long run. And if you've really enjoyed today's video and you want to see more bolt action content, then please consider becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter. It makes a massive difference, and it's thanks to the generous support of my channel members, of my patrons, that I'm able to cover other game systems like bolt action. And I just want to take a moment to say a nice thank you and a shout out to all of my latest channel members and patrons. So a huge thank you to Lord Commissar, to Mr. Smith's government class, to Marshall, Wolf Hunter 510, Steinkeys, Niall Meakin, Cosmic Drew, Antonio Aguilera, Vaxus, and Dominic Griffin. Thank you guys for becoming channel members. Thank you for doing your part. And of course, I also want to say a big thank you to the latest patrons as well. So massive thank you to Goodwin Games, Museum Fremen, Dennis W, Faceless Gaming Inc, Gunlock Zero, Sam Lord, Leo Wilson, and Eric Cruiser. Thank you guys. I really appreciate the extra support you're giving me. Now, last but certainly not least, I want to slow it down for a second and just say a big, personal, heartfelt thank you to all of my top tier Patreon supporters. These are the War Masters, the people that have truly smashed all expectations, that have gone above and beyond the call of duty when it comes to supporting my channel. And I just want to say a personal thank you to them. So 07 down in the comment section, guys, for Navy veteran, Philip French, Ross Miller, Alex Dengal, John Stubbs, Nicholas Walsh, Swordfish Trombone, Diesel Fox, Tom Sutton, and August Varney. Thank you, guys. You know how much your support means to me. You know that I say this every single video, but it doesn't matter. Honestly, your support is life-changing. Thank you so much. I hope you've all enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching, and of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.